Hi everyone, sorry for the short delay. There was a bit of technical issue, but seems that it is now resolved. So for today, we are presenting the Sustainable Forest Management System for India, which NCCF is actually going to submit for the re-endorsement. This webinar will be recorded and at the end will also be published on the PFC YouTube channel for the consultation, which will remain open until the 12th of July. For this presentation, I will hand over shortly to our Indian colleagues, and then I will ask all the attendees to please remain muted. If you have any question, you can either use the question and answer button, or eventually at the end, there will be a 10-minute for taking any questions. Having said that, Abhilasha, over to you.
Thank you, Ambra. So good afternoon, everyone. We are joining from India today regarding the endorsement process of our Sustainable Forest Management Certification Standard. I'm here presenting NCCF, that stands for Network for Certification and Conservation of Forests. So before we begin today's discussion and discuss about its agenda and points, I would request my team members to just quickly go through a quick round of introduction. So first, I would like to invite Mr. Singh. Over to you, sir. Sir, you are on mute, sir. We can't hear you. Sir, you are on mute. It seems like we are not able to hear you, sir.
Yeah. Is it? Am I audible now?
Right. Yes,
yeah.
Sir,
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm A.M. Singh, Director General of the NCCF. Basically, by profession, I'm a retired forester. I have an experience more than 4 decades in the forestry sector within the government. After joining in the NCCF, now we are handling about how to develop sustainable standards which are internationally benchmarked, but side by side specific to our own country. So this is in a nutshell about that from my introduction. I would request Verma sir to introduce himself.
Thank you, Singh sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet Amra and others. My name is A.K. Verma, and I'm also a professional forester by background, having worked with government and many other agencies. And I had the privilege to be one of the founder members of NCCF. And then subsequently, I headed the standard group for forest management in India for NCCF PEFC standard. And now I'm still heading it at the time of its revision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ananya and Ritika, over to you now.
Yes. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ananya Sharma, and I work as a program officer here at NCCF, and I handle FM, PAWS, and ecotourism standards. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ritika Bharadwaj, and I work as program officer at NCCF. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'll brief about myself. My name is Abhilasha Guleria. I'm working with NCCF for around 5 years now. I work at the position of assistant director here, and I look after the operational management of PEFC endorsed certification schemes, that is forest management and trees outside forest, along with the administrative management of the PEFC international chain of custody standards. So that's brief about us. Now with that, we are going to begin with the presentation, which will be focused on different aspects of the review and the revision process of Sustainable Forest Management Standard, which was endorsed by PFC from 2018. So to begin with it, I would request Singh sir to start the presentation, and I would request Ananya to share her screen to begin with it. Over to you, Singh sir.
Thank you, Abhilasha. And as informed by Ambra, that we need to have sufficient or enough time for quick Q&A also. So I would like to be as brief as I can. And since we are going to discuss about our own forest management certification scheme, which is in the process of revision. So I would like to tell next, Ananya. I would like to brief about NCCF overview and core working areas, and then definitely when we are going to have a webinar where we are going to present our own scheme. So there should be a little bit background about our forest over the ages, what sort of management practices we have followed and we are still following about that. Then couple of credible certification system to multi-stakeholder engagement. It will be taken by my colleague, Mr. A.K. Verma. And the rest about the endorsement standard related to PFC in India and what sort of practices and what sort of regulations we have followed. It will be taken by Abhilasha and her team. So coming back to the NCCF overview, next, Ananya. Just to tell my viewers that it's a national governing body of PFC, which was established in 2015. Basically, it's a registered society, which is, I mean, comprised of experts, professionals, and stakeholders, basically confining to natural resources. And our major mandate is we are developing the India-specific and globally benchmarked sustainable standards. In addition to PFC Alliance, which NHCCF is already having, we are member of IUCN also and Global Evergreening Alliance GEA. In addition to that, we have got the observer status of UNCCD and UNFCCC as a civil society organization. This is a nutshell about our thing. Then coming to the core working areas or the mandate which you talk about, although I have just mentioned about that, our basic core mandate is to develop the sustainable standards related to natural resource management. But in addition to that, we are into policy advocacy also. From time to time, we are giving some sort of suggestions related to different policy to the government and to the other sectors or stakeholders also. And in addition to that, we are following multi-stakeholder engagement, doing all sort of sustainable standards, developing this. In addition to that, we are into training and capacity building also of the different stakeholders, including the government officials also. And in a couple of states, NCCF is actively working in terms of forest certification and carbon projects where we are updating the skills of the senior officials of the government. Next. Coming back to the forest in India, because generally when we talk about our own country, then we all know about its role and then how much rich we are. We are, if you talk about globally, we are in the top 10 in terms of forest reserve, if you talk about forest area into it. And if you talk about our diverse forest range, it starts from tropical rainforest in the Western Ghats and Northeast to alpine forest in the Himalayas and mangroves along the coast. And if we go with the scientific management, how it was started, so it is dating back or long back. If we talk about our ancient India, where we talk about Rig Veda, Arthashastra, and Ashoka dynasty, where I mean, if you just see the edicts of those things, where there is a mention about not only the subsistence but about the spiritual and ecological significance. Even the indigenous communities at that time, they were living sustainably with different ecosystems also. From ancient to coming to the colonial area, where if you talk about, I mean, dating back in terms of documents, it was started in 1864 if you talk about forestry management in India. And at that time, it was basically of the commercial exploitation. And 1894 forest policy prioritized timber, basically, for the expansion of the developmental works, including railway expansion. And at that time, there was no mention of about ecological balance and tribal rights. Post-independence, if you talk about 1952 National Forest Policy, for the first time, there was a mention about forest environmental rules. And then we were talking about how we are going to prevent soil erosion and floods. But definitely at that time also, we were giving focus to the commercial forestry aspects, and still we were into the development mode. In 1988 National Forest Policy, if you talk about, I mean, it is a policy reform, and I can say it's a landmark change where it was a major shift, where we discussed and we talked about ecological stability, promoting community involvement through joint forest management, and even recognize the rights of tribal communities in the 1988 National Forest Policy. Next. Yeah. Just a little bit about our forest cover status in India, because once in 2 years, the government, I mean, we published a report. We call it a Indian State of Forest Report. And as per 2023, the latest one, our total forest cover is 21.71% of the India's geographical area. And we have tree cover also of 3.41%. So if you talk about combining both total forest and tree cover, it is about 25.12% of the geographical area. And we have classified as per the canopy density into different categories, which is already mentioned. Very dense forest, where canopy cover is more than 70%. Moderately dense forest, it is from 40 to 70%. And open forest, when the canopy density is from 10 to 40%. In addition to that, we have protected areas. We have a very rich, you can say, wildlife fauna, and we have 106 national parks, 573 wildlife sanctuaries. We have 123 conservation reserves and 220 community reserves. The difference between the first two are national parks and wildlife sanctuaries are established as per the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. And if you talk about conservation reserves, it is outside the protected area where we are conserving the biodiversity related to that. And if it is conserved by the community, the local community, then we nominate or we classify it as a community reserve. So in the total area of is about 1,73,000 square kilometer if you talk about protected areas in our own country. Next. Coming little bit some sort of important aspects, salient features you can say about, we just mentioned about, because we are talking about forest management and tree outside forest. I have already mentioned about that recorded forest area is 23%, but actual forest cover was much lower due to degradation. That is a very serious aspect of this. And we are trying to improve the quality of the forest cover inside the forest area. India, I mean, this is a figure which was given by FAO estimate 1980s, where we are losing 1.3 million hectare of forest annually. It is a matter of concern for all of us. And this much of 275 million people dependent on forest for subsistence, basically fuel, wood, fodder, and NTFP. The irony of our country is this, that we have only 2.5% of the total global area, if you talk about as a piece of land. But we have almost 18% of the human population and about 17 to 18% of the biotic interference and the livestock. So one can very well understand that how much pressure, biotic pressure, we are going to have our own forest. Despite that, we are achieving and we are having 25% of forest and tree cover. It is one of the major achievements if you talk about our own country. Then definitely we have a rising demand of fuel wood, which was estimated of 201 million tons per year as per the early 1990s. And if you talk about forest management from independence from 1947, then we have classified into three aspects. One is about pre-1980, where it was basically timber-centric and state-led approach. And at that time, the diversion of forest land was done from one government to another government without any sort of major hiccups. So, and at that time, forests were managed mainly for timber extraction, following colonial era working plans. Local communities were largely excluded from forest governance, and focus was basically of the revenue generation if you talk about before 1980. Then after 1990, it's a very important change, you can say, the act which has come as a Forest Conservation Act, which has given a legal sheet for forest, and where if any of the forest land which will be used for non-forestry activities, you have to take the permission as per certain protocols by the central government. So that is an act which has come, and it is a key legal step to restrict forest land diversion and ensure central oversight for conservation. In 1990s, if you talk about, basically it is related to joint forest management, where the communities step in to manage the forest, and introduction of the local communities in protecting and managing degraded forest with benefit sharing mechanism that has also come into the picture. And then there are a couple of major, you can say, interventions in the forestry management related to Biodiversity Act, which has come in 2002. And another was in 2006 related to Forest Rights Acts, where the justice for forest dwellers have been given as per our rules and regulations. Next. Uh, Coming to tree outside forest reduction, because I had already mentioned about that since the total forest and tree cover was 25%, and as per the National Forest Policy, we have decided that we should have a forest and tree cover up to 33%. So definitely we need to explore more areas outside the forest, and that's why tree outside forest initiatives aim to increase green cover outside legal forest land, and then the whole concept of tree outside forest had come into the picture. And now tree outside forest emerged as a major contributor to national wood supply, and about 60% of the timber was sourced from tree outside forest areas. And these are the basic outcomes by the 1990s, that forest cover began stabilizing. National Forest Policy 1988 basically emphasized on ecological security and community participation, and the agroforestry and tree outside forest played a growing role in easing pressure on our natural forest. So, in addition to that, I would like to, since we are talking about certification related to forest management, so we should also give some idea about that. What sort of Indian scenario procurement? Uh, there is a study which was done very recently, and one report was submitted to 15 Finance Commission, where it has been mentioned that 72% of the raw material which is being used by wood-based industry, it comes from tree outside forest. Only 5% of the raw material, it comes from the forest area, and the rest of the things are coming from imports. So that's why there comes sort of challenges for the wood industries while finding and while identifying the raw material for their own industries. Next. This is one of the study which was very recent study which was done. And then it is mentioned that total production of roundwood in India is 47 cubic million per annum, where from that only 2 million cubic meter it is coming from state-owned forest. Rest of the thing is coming from outside forest. And you just see that on the right side, the domestic sources consumption is this much, and supply from import is given. So while I'm trying to say that there is a gap of 10 sort of thing, million cubic meter, which is from demand to supply. So if we go with this tree outside forest of 45 million cubic meter, which we are going to certify, definitely it will give a big boost to the farmers to encourage to get the premium price, and they can go more and more plantations in their own private lands for the tree species. And if it is will be done, then definitely it will give or ease out our imports, which is about 10 million cubic meter, which is coming from outside. So that's the reason that NCCF is basically or mainly focusing how much promotions we can do about both our schemes related to tree outside forest and forest management certification scheme. With this, I would request my colleague, Mr. Verma, to take forward and then try to deliberate upon the credible certification system which we are using in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Singh Saab. Good afternoon, friends, once again. Now, having got a background about India's forests and the related aspects, we are zeroing down on the certification system, our own standards, how it has been developed, and the related process. So I will take you through a couple of slides for these purposes. I want to assure that the standard setting processes and the credible certification system, whatever is required, that has been followed by us. Now, as you know, friends, assessing the competence of all the certification bodies by an independent accreditation body, that is very important aspect, and that is being taken care in the system through NABCB, that is National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies. So whatever certification bodies are associated with us, they are coming through NABCB, which is also member of International Accreditation Forum, that is IAF, and it is signatory to multilateral mutual recognition arrangements. Next, please. Of course, on the right slide, if you go back to the previous slide, Ananya, I think for the benefit of my friend from Italy, we can just inform that around 11 associated COCs and CBs are there working in India. The names are there: ALCO, Control Union, NEPCON, SCS, and various others, including GCI India Private Limited. These are all accredited bodies. Some of them are working with NCCF and PEFC standards. Next. This slide takes us through the standard setting process of certification scheme. Now, friends, as you know, standard setting process has to be done through an internationally benchmarked and globally credible, transparent process with open participation and balanced representation of all stakeholders. And that has been done by us. If you see the map, this process starts from stakeholder mapping to announcing the standard setting and inviting stakeholders. Then we create working groups and committees. We have done that. And there's an importance of having working group committees to develop the draft document, what we call here in India, technical working group, which was again chaired by yours truthfully. And of course, the members who are present in this meeting, they were all members of TWG. Then we went through public consultation, which is again a standard process. It was tested through pilot testing, and then it has to be done on a consensus building platform regarding the final draft, which is done through standard development group meeting, the final meeting. Then there has to be a formal approval of the standard, which in our case is the general body of NCCF, which incidentally has done the present revision standard also. And then we publicly go for the publication of the standard. And of course, there is a periodic revision of these standards. Now, this standard process of the entire certification scheme has been followed by us. I have joined a couple of presentations together to save on time. On the one hand, I wanted to show what is the internationally accepted system, and on the other hand, I also briefed about the process which we have diligently followed. Next, please. As you know, there is a necessity to have a multi-stakeholder engagement for having any sustainability standards, and these multi-stakeholders are defined or identified or referenced to in UN Agenda 21. And as you can see, they involve right from business and industry to women to youth and children, indigenous people. In our case, it was tribal, non-governmental organization, local authority, that is government, workers and trade unions, scientific, technological, and other such communities. And lastly, we had also farmers, academicians, and intellectuals in our standard formation process. Next, please, Ananya. Now, I think the main subject of this presentation, today's presentation, is on, and I will request Ms. Abhilasha to take over from here through the entire PEFC endorsed standard in India up to the revision. Over to you, Abhilasha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Verma, sir. So I would like to begin my part of the presentation first defining the structure of the forest certification scheme that we have in India. In general, we all are aware that forest certification scheme is generally divided into two major parts. So the first part deals with the certification of the natural resource, that is the trees that are grown in the form of forest primarily, and the other part involves the harvesting of the products right from the farm gate till it has been manufactured and processed into a final end product. So that this segment is comes under the part of the chain of custody certification scheme. But however, when we look at this diagram that is presented on the right hand side of the slide, since India has a very unique scenario wherein we have a prime focus on the wood-based procurement from the trees outside forest resource as well. Hence, in India, we have two set of certification scheme devoted for these two resources, which are there, but having different ownership categories. So, in the first certification scheme, we have forest management certification standard, wherein we usually certify the forest which are identified by our Indian Forest Act in the Reserve Forest Act and under the different categories as well. However, in the second, when we speak of the trees outside forest certification scheme, it is devoted for the certification of the resources which are outside the notified forest areas, wherein the primarily the ownership is taken up by the farmers. Apart from these two, we have the PFC International Chain of Custody Standard in India, which primarily covers the different nodes of processing and the manufacturing that are involved in the manufacturing of a wood-based product. So that range from different kind of wood-based products such as pulp and paper, packaging, textile, furniture, pencil industries, and all. I think, the next slide we can go to now. So when we speak of the PFC, as we know that PFC mainly works on a bottom to top approach, wherein it's a conglomeration of more than 55 national member countries, and CCF is one of them, representing India. So in India, currently we have these two certification schemes successfully endorsed by PEFC. PFC first endorsed our forest management certification scheme first in 2018, and as explained by Mr. Verma right now, that eventually after the span of 5 years, we have a provision of review and revision of the certification scheme. Hence, the review of the scheme began back in 2023. Currently in India, when we speak of a PFC endorsed FM scheme, we have only one certification body, that is GCI India Private Limited, accredited by National Accreditation Board for a certification body for our NCCF FM certification scheme, along with trees outside forest. For the success of this scheme, we have one certified entity, which is Uttar Pradesh Forest Corporation. They have just certified 41 forest divisions, which covering up an area of 4 lakh 50,000 hectares. It's a big area devoted for the conservation, big area devoted for the social forestry purposes also, wherein these areas have direct linkages with the wood-based industries, and wood-based industries which intend to have procurement of certified raw material from these resources. Having said that, when we speak of the chain of custody certificates in India, we have currently 52 active PEFC COC certificates, which covers the sectors including pulp and paper, packaging, furniture, plywood, handicraft, and others as well. Next slide, Ananya. As per the standard setting procedure explained by Mr. Verma just now, I'll just provide a few highlights of our standard setting process. So generally 1 year in the standard setting process is devoted for the review process, and 1 year is devoted for the revision process. So this review phase has begun in from September 22 to September 2023, wherein this year was devoted for the review, wherein we have look up the upcoming changes in the international scenario, such as there was a big transition going from the UTR requirements to the EUDR requirements. Based on these requirements, there were changes in our international standards, which are governed by PEFC. So that was a one big requirement. Apart from that, there were other changes done also in few of the updated versions in the PFC master document in FM standard. So this phase has been divided, and this slide presents a brief update about what kind of different steps those have been followed in conducting this review phase. After the review phase, during the revision, that took a little bit extended time period because of our focus to have outreach to the all the extended stakeholders as well. So they were this standard development group along with the technical working group has been chaired by Mr. Avni Verma sir, and these are the updates of the different kinds of the meeting that we held during the whole tenure of this standard development stages. So beginning from 5th April 2024 to next slide, Ananya. Towards the end of last year, we were able to come up with our final draft. And with this draft, we have put up this draft for public consultation twice in this time period. The first phase was in 2024, and the second round of public consultation for 30 days we have put towards the last leg, that is from 10th February to 15th of the March. And thereafter we have gone for the last standard development group meeting, and thereafter we have sought the GB approval through a special GB meeting on 25th of the March. Hence thereafter the revised set of documents have been submitted to PFC for the beginning of the endorsement process. Next slide. So this is will be just an overview of the different kind of standards that we have revised herein, and those revisions are done in what context of the PFC document. So first document is our NCCF Sustainable Forest Management Standard. This document has been revised in light of PEFC SFM updated document. So earlier this version was updated against PFC 1003 2012 version. So hence thereafter two updates were available. Hence this document has been revised for 2018 and 2024 version. So the 2018 version, it basically speaks of the various management system requirements related to leadership, governance, and internal audit. So we will learn more about in a brief manner in the next slide. Whereas the changes or the update in 2024 standard, this was mainly related with regard to alignment of the PFC SFM standard along with the EUDR regulation, and a major requirement related to geolocation. The principles were amended accordingly to align our standards with this requirement. Now coming to the group certification standard, and this was aligned with the PFC Group Forest Management Standard, updated version of 2018. For CB requirement document, this is aligned with the PFC CB requirement document 1004/2024. And for standard setting procedure, this document has been already endorsed during the process of TUF endorsement in 2022. And this has been already aligned with the PFC standard setting requirements document version number 1001/2017. Next slide. So the overall requirement, the major changes that were there in a common manner in the standard setting procedure in in the FM requirement, they were mainly focused around inclusion of the and also in the group management standard, they were focused on the requirement of these principles in the management system of the clients. So first is related to the leadership, planning, compliance requirements, support, internal audit, and improvement. So there are this is just a brief overview. There are further sub requirements till the level of principle and the criteria which are done in our respective standards. So the when we speak of the leadership in our document, we have done the changes wherein there was a requirement put up to involve or the organizational roles, responsibilities of the respective authorities and the participants, along with their respective commitments and also the policies of the organization. In the planning, we have included the provisions so that if there is any change in any management plan, then those changes should be reflected in the respective management plan, and those changes should have the preparations and the planning for the inclusions of the sufficient resources, manpower, and the financial accordingly. When it comes to the compliance requirement, there were provisions regarding that this certification should be the FMU taking up the certification will be primarily responsible for having the compliance of the various kind of requirements under the sustainable forest management requirements. The support of the different resources, their competence, and then what kind of communication process they are going to adopt has been the various requirements has been put up under the support section, wherein the focus is on the management of the complaints, what kind of communication strategies, and what kind of protection and accessibility of relevant information will be provided. The provisions regarding the internal audit has been put up within the group management standard, so that the group can be having its own provisions of the internal audit before they come up for the actual certification. And the same goes for a single audit in the FM standard. The internal audit requirements has also been put up in a very elaborate manner. Along with this, we have the provisions of the improvement, which speaks upon that the findings of these internal audit reports should be presented, should have the involvement from the management also, and with the focus that all the learnings from this process would be put up for the continual improvement of the operations. So this is a brief how these different requirements have been included under the different themes, principal criteria of our FM and the group standard will be reflected in next slide. Another next slide. So the main provisions lined up under these headings have been put up under the different requirements, mainly in the FM and in the group standard. We have tried to provide a highlight of the different changes in different criteria and indicators for the reference of everyone. And in addition to that, there is a CB requirement document wherein we have put up some indicators as per the respective changes. The main highlight is requirement of the internal audit. There has been some changes, the criteria has been added, and there is an additional requirement of resource and the process requirement. For the resources, we have included the competence requirement as well as competence qualification and the maintenance of the resources for the auditors, technical reviewer, as well as for decision maker also. And this has been done for the both the schemes for FM and TUF also, as this time this is a combined document for both of the schemes. So this will be an overview. The respective criteria and clause can be looked up into details under the respective principles. In addition to that, I also want to add that in FM standard, as I mentioned earlier, so these are the main requirement mentioned in the FM standard with respect to the 2018 version. When we speak of the EUDR requirement, the alignment of our standard has followed the PEFC SFM 2024 version, wherein we have added the requirements related to geolocation, defining the geolocation, and also integrating the definitions regarding the deforestation and forest degradation as well. Apart from that, there were other definitions such as primary forest, naturally regenerating forest. So such definitions have also been added and updated in our standard. So this is just to provide a brief but a very precise overview of all the changes that we have done in our respective documents, so that the interested participants may have a look during this public consultation window and can submit their opinions or their inputs in this regard. Next slide, Ananya. So this is the outlook of the documents that we have submitted for the purpose of the endorsement for your needful reference. I think these documents are also going to be available on the PFC website along with on the PFC website along with our website as well. Next slide, Ananya. These are the links we have put it over here, so which will take us to these standards directly for the reference of everyone. And do you wish, Ambra, that we should click and just let everyone to have a look, or because that is my last slide now?
To
Yep.
the document. Will, as you prefer, otherwise there will eventually be the link will be available
Link.
on the consultation page, I guess. So yeah.
Right, right. Okay. So I think with this, my presentation part is over. So we'll go ahead with Amra's word, because yes, the links to all these documents will be provided uh, along with the, I think, publication of this webinar as well. So for any further queries, for any further inputs, I think there will be a link provided at the PFC website also, directing to the PFC concerned person. However, if anyone wish to submit their comments, this will be our concerned email ID. Feel free to submit any of your inputs there as well. So with this, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Amra, now.
Thank you, Abhilasha, and thank you to your team for the excellent presentation, very detailed and clear. I would just give a minute to everyone. So if anyone has any question, you can raise your hand. You should all be able to see the hand button on Teams. In the meantime, maybe I can just go ahead with one general question from my side. So on the FM certification, you mentioned that so far you just have one certificate. I was curious to know what potential do you see for the group standard within the Indian context? Do you think that that could be an opportunity to, I don't know, maybe achieve more certification through smallholders, or what is your, let's say, what's your goal in respect to the availability and the use of the group standard?
Can I take it at the beginning? Then later on, maybe DG Saab can add.
Yes, sir.
Sorry?
Please.
Okay, okay.
Oh, yep.
So I see, Amra, the group certification scheme for FM standard, there's a lot of scope in Indian forestry context because of joint forest management concept from 1988, wherein a lot of forest areas have been allowed to be managed by these communities, and these are communities which may be good enough to be grouped together to apply for this kind of certification which we have got under FM. Similarly, these tribals, as you know, those who are staying in forest areas, they have been allowed to have their rights recognized now, both community rights as well as individual rights. So while one does not expect a lot of production from those community forests or individually right holders in these tribal areas, still, whenever there is a need, there will be a system of group forestry management also. So these are the 2 or 3 basic areas, and consider the size of India. And almost in Karnataka state itself, there are 5,000 village forest communities managing joint forest management. So we see tremendous opportunity for group management certification under FM scheme in our country. Rest, I would request Mr. Singh to add if anything left over by on this issue.
No, sir. I think you have very well explained the things within the FM or within our forest concept about group certification, sir. So nothing to add, sir.
Thank you very much. That was a very clear answer. So thank you very much for that. I don't see any question or any hands up. So maybe I can just remind everyone that this presentation will also be then recorded and put available on the PFC YouTube channel for the consultation. The public consultation will now go on until the 12th of July. So yeah, sorry, Mr. Varma, I can see you raise your hand.
Thank you very much for allowing me, even though the time was over. I just wanted to know what is the process from your side, Samra, now for us. That's all.
Sure. Well, the process for the endorsement will follow the Guidance 1007 document. So just to explain shortly, the consultation will start and then will be up and running until the 12th of July. In the meantime, we will open the tender for the external assessor for submit their evaluation and their proposal, let's say, for the evaluation of the Indian system. After that, of course, the assessor will conduct the evaluation, and then the process will go on up to the internal review. That will be subject to PFC International, and after that, you will have the feedback with the recommendation from the assessor for the board.
Thank you very much. And we presume that the external assessment would be done in person, offline?
We didn't yet request that aspect. We are going to see first of all what will be the proposal of the assessor. I think that probably because this is a re-endorsement, we could even just go for a remote option, but eventually, depending on what will be the feedback and the outcome, we can discuss eventually in an in-person meeting as needed. Okay, having said that, I will thank you all very much for your time, especially from our colleagues from India, and for the very nice and clear presentation. Yeah, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Right. Thank you, Amra. Okay.
Thanks.